Bundyana here, aka Annabelle, aka Mary Daniac. Can you believe it's been 200 years? I mean episodes. No way was it that long ago. My favourite show of all time celebrates its 200th episode, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate than by keeping the Married with Children spirit alive. And we do that through this podcast, through you, the listeners, and all the fans over the world. It warms my heart to see a show that ended over 20 years ago still going strong in the fandom. 9 seasons, 200 episodes, and we've still got 59 to go. Thank you to all the Married with Children fans out there for keeping the spirit of the show alive. Thank you all for your feedback and your loyalty, and for listening to our humble little podcast. Now, where are my bonbons?
Steve!
Marcy!
Steve.
Marcy.
Let's rock.
Thanks, Dad.
Can I get a whoopin'?
No Man presents, live from the nudie bar, the Married with Children podcast.
Welcome back, Married with Children fans.
Tyler, I got soap in my eye.
And I'm here with Tyler. How you doing, Tyler?
Oh, I'm doing great, and just being up front, I don't take no guff from shoe sale.
And we have a special person with us today.
I'm back because I love money. My name's Jerry, and I'm here because there's a special guest star today.
Yes, and by the way, we're doubling your pay from when you were with Alex, okay?
I'm getting paid 2 cents.
Yes. Yes, we are here. We are here to review Get the Dodge Out of Hell. It aired February 5th, 1995. Written by Larry Jacobson, directed by Jerry Cohen. The title is from the Cowboys saying, how they changed the saying. Usually they would say, get the hell out of Dodge, referring to Dodge City up in Kansas. This time we're trying to say, get the Dodge out of hell, which is a car wash. This has a few guest stars, including Michael Faustino and the return of
David Garrison
as Steve. The return of Steve.
Get ready for Mary's historic 200th episode.
Dodge does not need a racing stripe. It couldn't hit 60 if you dropped it from a plane.
But you could, Peg. Coming up next.
You know, recently we did our season 8 wrap-up show, and Annabelle said that one reason why I always say that season 8 is the weakest is because there's no Steve. He doesn't return that season.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since, when he was a pirate?
I think so. Yeah, the pirate one. This was also another milestone because Married with Children celebrated 200 episodes on his return. And I think that was the goal. All right.
Yeah, and for modern day audiences, that doesn't seem like a lot, I guess, with shows getting into, 12 and 15 seasons almost all the time now. But 200 episodes for a small network television show, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I think The Simpsons just recently got to like 600 or 700 episodes. It's amazing how long that one's gone.
They began recording of season 33, episode 1, last night, according to Al Jean on Twitter.
Oh, boy. I haven't watched it in years. I might want to take it up because I know that's one of Alex's favorites, and I stopped watching about season 11.
The last season was really, really strong. I think they got a bunch of new writers that are like the youngest of the millennials who grew up when season 15 was starting and actually really like it, and are bringing a lot of high class humor towards The Simpsons. So I would suggest it. There was a lot of strong episodes.
Yes. Anyway, with this Married with Children fiesta, we start out with the kids sitting in the couch, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of going to Wanker County.
Okay, Kel, let's go over the plan just one more time, all right? Now, You can't go to Wanker County with Mom and Dad because...
I have to do a commercial for traffic safety.
That's right. And I can't go to Wanker County with Mom and Dad because...
A rubber sheep is demanding you take a blood test?
Fine. We'll go to Wanker County. But don't come running to me when they ask you why you're still single when you have a perfectly good brother.
Come on, bud, I was just kidding. I can do this. I mean, Daddy might have been able to look me in the eye and break me when the police brought me home at 2 in the morning, but I am not 11 anymore.
Okay, there's the Dodge early warning system. Let's go. Now, remember the plan.
Gotcha. What plan?
And they have this elaborate plot where Kelly has to do a public service message, and Buzz, since he works for the Department of Safety or the Department of Motor Vehicles, he has to be the producer. They have an ironclad, so that's their ironclad alibi.
Consultant, though, right? Or wait.
Yeah, a consultant, whatever. But the thing is, I love it when she says, I can hold my own against Daddy. He could have intimidated me when I was 11 and brought home by the police, but I am an adult now. And then Al and Peg walk in, and I want to get this gripe out of the way just because studio audiences, especially Married with Children, could be really loud and obnoxious fans. I mean, that introductory applause and roaring was just way, way, way over the top. Do you know, are audiences asked to do that when people come in or what?
Yes, kind of. There are like little light up boxes that will say like applause or kind of give a basic rundown of what they want. They don't always use that though. Later on in the episode when our special guest shows up, the audience did not know he was there.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
Every show has a different way of doing that. The one that I'm privy to is the Big Bang Theory. I got to talk to some people who got to see a live recording of that where they were the audience. And they're like, yeah, it was a 4-hour-long thing where we didn't know what the episode was. Some of the stuff was being recorded and some of it was fake. They would break the mode and talk to us and joke around and get us into a kind of a hysteria. So when you hear people going crazy, a lot of it is you forget you're an audience member and you're just going nuts. So they probably lulled them into doing that. But you're right, it does sound like a Steelers bunch of Steelers fans after a big win going crazy.
Interesting you should say that. That's the team that Ed O'Neill almost played for, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Makes perfect sense. He looks like a Steelers fan.
Yeah, he looks like a Steelers or a Raiders fan.
As a Steve fan, I don't get these football jokes.
Okay.
That is not a football joke. That was a Steelers joke, Jerry. That's way more niche. Like, if you go into a bar that says Steelers, yay, and walk in there, you will see some type of a crowd that's very specific.
Oh, well. Well, better get off the football there since Jerry doesn't know anything about it. Besides, this isn't about football. This is about the Bundys going to Wanker County and the Dodge.
Though, actually, before we get off the football subject, I did read, and I thought this was interesting, that this was the first episode this season that was not around something involving television. Every episode had some kind of involvement around television, whether it was them doing the Dud Bowl, or doing Kelly filming stuff, because that was a big thing going on right now. But almost every other episode this season had something to do with television, except for this one.
You know, you're right.
Yeah. And it was very sports heavy, too.
Yes, there are a lot of sports heavy things going on this season, but not for Steve's return. They knew Steve doesn't watch TV, okay? Steve doesn't watch football. Steve watches plays and birds.
He's culturally aesthetic. aesthetically pleasing, stuff like that. And Jerry, I am so happy you brought that up. I wanted to bring something like that up later on when we got to the car wash, but one of the things I have noticed this whole half of season 8 and most of season 9 is that Married with Children shows their plots are kind of mirroring where Fox was at that time. I think, Steven, you and me touched on it in the Dud Bowl episode where Fox was moving into ESPN and broadcasting sports and kind of using the shows to prop each other up. So maybe these plots were, just inspired by whatever was going crazy through Fox at the time.
It was probably the deal because that was the year Fox started airing NFC football games. I think I mentioned that in the last one. And I think I think the next year they did get Major League Baseball away from CBS. So I think that's why this season is also so sports heavy as well as television heavy, because Fox is looking at Married with Children not only as, because it was their first big hit, of course. And I think they were using that to help advertise this stuff that was coming along. Like in the recent Dud Bowl, they had the announcer saying, stay tuned for the game of the week on Fox. You'll see the Cowboys playing the Steelers here on Fox. Don't forget, it starts at noon on Fox. It's like...
Say Fox as many fucking times as you can so people know who we are.
Yes, so that's the reason Fox is using Married with Children, and now Married with Children is their golden boy, which is really kind of sad if you think how the series ended, because I've heard most of the actors, they didn't find out from the network. They found out from other people. Ed O'Neill says he was vacationing, I think, somewhere in Hawaii maybe, but someone said to him, I'm sorry to hear that your show was canceled, and he hadn't heard yet. I'm thinking that's a pretty crappy way to treat your premiere show, the one that really got you on the map, that and The Simpsons. So hope that doesn't happen with The Simpsons voice actors.
Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of which, I'm here to tell y'all's show is canceled. This whole podcast is canceled.
Oh, wow.
In case y'all didn't get the memo.
I thought it was canceled a long time ago. We've just been doing this for fun.
Oh, well, no one's listening, but that doesn't make any difference to me. If no one's listening, I'll still listen to it because I'll be producing it anyway.
It's like life. Nobody's listening to us there. No one's listening to us here. Whatever.
Peggy's not getting sex. Y'all aren't getting listeners. The world keeps turning for Al Bundy.
And Steve, right?
Steve's world always turns.
Al, why are you in such a bad mood? Some men like going shopping with their wives.
Sure, for coffins. I hate buying stuff for the wanker folk, Peg.
Well, we like stuff from the big city. We just have things they can't get. Let's make sure we got it all.
Wax. String. Things that go click.
And to think, they bestowed their highest honor on you.
Well, that's understandable. I'm the only person they ever saw who doesn't have a shell.
Scoff all you want, but I think being named the Grand Marshal of the Wanker County Bicentennial Parade is a big deal.
Yeah, Dad. Come on, they're celebrating 200 years.
Since what? They crawled from the oceans? No way was it that long ago.
200 years ago, it was bought from the Indians.
Ah, not the legend of Wanker County again.
Wanker County was originally called Obi-Luba Possawatomi, which means land of the big gassy possum.
Which explains why Disney has no interest in putting a theme park there.
And I get a kick out of Peggy wanting to tell the story of Wanker County. At the same time, Alice thinking 200 years since what? Since they crawled out of the ocean or something like that.
Oh, no, it's one of those great, like, would you call it, Jerry, like a 3-point, like, joke where, but done such in quick succession, like, 200 years of what? When they crawled out of the ocean? It couldn't have been that long ago. Like, I'm laughing at what he says, and then he says the next thing, and it makes me laugh even more. And if it was done incorrectly, it could have just killed the whole joke.
Yeah, they're very good at stacking jokes in rapid succession where you get the main joke and then they're like, okay, we're going to top that. While we're at it, let's top it again. And they usually do it in threes, and it just works very well. Like, this show is just very well written when it comes to dialogue. And it is interesting that Al's like, there's no way that they evolved that quickly, even though he spends most of the time talking about how not evolved they are.
Exactly. We're making fun of the of Wanker County's short history. Then we imply what that history is. They're crawling out of the muck, which is also great. But then to top that even harsher with it couldn't have been that long ago how low their evolution is, even in that exaggerated sense. It really is strong writing.
Yeah, and it is great to have, like, still, even in season 9, we're getting background information on Wanker County. We now know that 200 years ago they bought the land from the Native Americans, and it stood for, what was it stood for? Gassy Possum? Land of the Gassy Possum?
Right, Land of the Gassy Possum.
Oh, wait, and what did Al win, by the way? What was the name of the thing that he won?
Yeah, he was going to be the, what do you call it when they lead a parade? The, I was starting to say Grand Master, but I thought, no, that's Bud's. It was going to be a parade, and he was supposed to lead the parade, and there's a name for the person who leads the parade.
It made me laugh so much with just the look of absolute, because it's the name of what he is not actually a joke. It actually sounds quite honorific in a way that Wanker County could be. Like, there doesn't seem to be a joke to it, but Al looks so disgusted at the even idea of being associated with that place.
And things like this also make me want to go, like, I wonder what this episode would have been like had they actually gone to Wanker County and, like, went to the parade, what it would have looked like. And maybe we find out how Al got this honor, because for the life of me, I can't figure out how, because Peggy's family is a big deal in Wanker County, and for the most part, they don't seem to like Al that much. So is this a trick? Are they going to, like, carry him? Like, pour a bucket of pig blood on him when he gets up on stage?
Jerry, it's anything your beautiful mind can come up with. Like, have you seen Frasier?
No, I'm not allowed to watch Frasier because I don't love myself enough, and I'm not high society enough to watch Frasier. I tried it once. Cops came in. I had to sit in jail for a weekend, and they're like, "You watch Married with Children. You're not allowed to watch Frasier."
Okay, what about Cheers? Did you watch that?
No, I'm not 50.
Oh my God. Okay, well, on both those shows, on Cheers, there's a character called Vivian. Vera, not Vivian. And then on Frasier, there's a character called Maris. Both are just names. You never see them. You never hear them. They're only made reference. But I could write you at least a 15 to 20 page paper on both their characters, because they're so elaborately talked about. And they're doing this, much like Peggy's mom, they're doing this with an entire county and, like, area of people. And the answer is, if they ever went there, it would ruin everything.
You're right. It's the comedy version of the horror trope. It's scarier what you don't see. In this case, it's funnier what you don't see.
Because you can't make... Yeah, Peggy's mom. There is no person alive they could get to, it's impossible. You would have to force Roseanne and Rosie O'Donnell to, like, smash in with each other and then eat Ricky Lakes. Maybe you could get there. But no, it's beautiful. I just keep thinking of that pitchfork falling down. Oh, there's your fork, hun. It needs to stay in your mind.
By the way, I did find it. He was elected the Grand Marshal of the Wanker County Bicentennial Parade. That's what the... If you lead the parade...
It's so funny.
You lead a parade, and you're the Grand Marshal. And then Oh, boy.
The Grand Marshal of the Bicentennial Wanker County Parade.
Oh, boy. I think the bigger joke is Al is not very involved himself, yet he trashes on Wanker County.
Because they are so inbred and low class that Al is their king.
Yeah.
Basically, Wanker County makes Al look like Frasier.
You're such a success. You're a shoe salesman. Like, you sell both the left and the right? Wow. Ooh.
And who was it? It was cousins. Their cousins, like in the end of the second season, when they came to visit. One was played by King Kong Bundy. You know, they were like Peg's cousins or something, and they were excited that he was a professional shoe salesman.
Oh yeah, and who else? Didn't the the parents of He Who Must Not Be Named, Seven, they're Wanker, right?
Yeah, they're from Wanker County.
They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 kids. So it.
Wait a minute, who is this 7 person you're mentioning?
Oh, I didn't mention it. I didn't mention anything. I just said He Who Must Not Shall Not Be Named.
You know what's great about them doing this whole Wanker joke is when they're doing we had to go shop for them, and they pull out like string, and they're like, because Wanker County doesn't have things like strings or seventh children.
Yes, there are no 7 sons in in Wanker County.
Well, that's because they don't have the 6s, because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 kids. You know, they forget this. But the thing that they bought, I thought was funny, was the clapper thing, or the little thing that made.
Oh, the clicker.
Yeah, the clicker. And Peggy is just like excited. She uses that, showing she's just as, just like them.
Rat Boy.
I made a comment on Facebook recently that Married with Children was trending up on Internet Movie Database, and I was just going to take a quick look and see if it's trending up again on Married with Children. And my comment was that I would kind of hope sometimes that the podcast boosts its interest, but unfortunately now the popularity is going down. Uh-oh.
I think it pops up at least once a year as everyone jumps on the bandwagon of this is the reunion show we need to have. Because that happens once a year. There's a big we need a Married with Children reunion thing that happens. And especially with Ed O'Neill now no longer being on Modern Family, people are definitely like more actively pushing for it. I don't think Fox cares. I don't think Ed O'Neill cares. I don't think most people involved with the show, except for David, I think he's the only one that cares.
Well, I think they've all resigned that it's not going to happen. Aside from the fact that Katie Segal has a new series out, there was one person behind the scenes who didn't want to do it. So that was the thing that killed it.
Oh, it's Amanda Beers, probably. She straight up, like when we interviewed her, she wasn't mean about it, but she was pretty open that her and Ed do not get along.
And that would be frustrating to work with someone that you don't get along with. But, of course, it's not that they hate each other, they just don't get along. That's what I like to point out, because there are some people that I don't get along with. I don't hate them. I just don't like to be around.
I don't get along with anyone from Wanker County.
Yeah, neither do I. And that's the problem that they have. They don't want to go to Wanker County because they don't get along with people over there.
I, for one, am very excited to be going. Ahem. I said, I, for one, am very excited to be going to Wanker County with my sister. Come in.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I've got something I have to tell you. I'm afraid that Bud and I won't be able to go to Wanker County. You see, I just got a commercial for traffic safety. And Bud, since he works for the Department of Vehicle Services, is going to consult. The end. Well, bye.
Hold it! Pumpkin, I want you to look Daddy in the eye.
Okay, it was a lie. It was all Bud's idea.
That's right.
I wanted to go to Wanker County. And not only that, last Tuesday, Bud drank milk right from the carton. When he was 11, he smoked a cigarette.
When I think of the pain and the suffering that I went through for you to be conceived. You should be ashamed of yourself for deceiving your family this way.
Kelly's or Bud's plan just simply falls apart. In the first place, she's knocking on her own door. It starts out badly when Bud says his line and Kelly doesn't come in on cue. So much for the Larry Storch School of Acting. He says, I, for one, am looking forward to going to Wanker County. He says it again because Kelly doesn't walk in. And then Kelly knocks on the door. And she finally comes in and says they can't go to Wanker County. They have the excuse, she's going to be in a public service announcement and Bud has to be a consultant. And I love Al. He looks at her right in the eye and she caves just like she did when she was 11.
And I do love when Married Children does these great setup jokes where, they drop the hint a few minutes earlier. They do that joke and then they do the joke again here in a little bit with Peggy. And most of the times when you see that joke in a sitcom, you kind of go, oh, that it doesn't really work. You just use the joke basically three times. But it always works in Married with Children. I don't know how they always pull this three-part joke off, but they do.
It's the chemistry with the cast members. Something that me and Steven noticed is the episodes that we don't like or have the most trouble with is when the family or the main cast members are not being utilized correctly, or if they're just popped in for no real reason. How you got Bud and Kelly doing their sibling spiel is so great. Pairing them between Al and Peggy, coming in together, it all works and fires on all the cylinders.
Al, the Home Office just ordered us to have a 24-hour emergency shoe sale. The fat women have landed. You gotta come.
Oh, dash it all. I was going to Wanker County. I'm sorry, Peg.
Just a second. Griff, look me in the eye.
There really is no shoe sale. It was all Bud's idea. He dialed some 976 numbers from the shoe store. And he took a handful of cerebral palsy mints without paying. And you know what he did when he was 11, right?
Goodbye, Griff.
See you when you get back, Al?
Oh, you can count on it, buddy.
Now, aren't you three ashamed of yourselves?
You mean in general or because this Wanker County hooey?
We are all going, and that's final. It's not gonna work, Buck.
It was all Bud's idea.
Now, like I was saying, we're all gonna go and we're all gonna have fun, right?
Right, Mom. No.
Okay, now let's stop at the car wash.
Car wash? What for?
So the Dodge will look nice in the parade.
How nice do we have to look? This year's theme is thumbs. Show 'em if you got 'em.
Of course, Griff comes in and talks about an emergency shoe sale.
The fat women have landed.
I want more of him.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really like about season 9 is the addition of Griff. I think he works a lot better than Aaron. Not knocking him, I just think he works a lot better. And he caves, and he says too, it was all Bud's idea.
One of the moments that's really adorable about Kelly when she comes in and does her performance, which she just doesn't she end it with, and that's the end. And
yes.
It's just I wanted like if I ever wanted a Funko Pop doll of Kelly, it would have been right there, where she was just so proud of herself. I did it. Scene's over.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
When Griff throws Bud under the bus, so one or two things happened here. Either Bud didn't trust his sister and set up a second plan and got his dad in it, or Al was like, look, if it doesn't work, blame it on Bud. I mean, we could say Griff just did it to throw Bud on the bus for no reason, but I don't think Griff really has a reason to do that to Bud. So the question is this Bud set up a fallback secondary plan, or did Al say, hey, throw Bud under the bus if it doesn't work?
I've got a theory, but Steven, let's hear yours.
Well, I noticed something is that as soon as Kelly starts talking, Bud goes and opens up his suitcase and starts packing. He knows it's not going to work.
Okay.
And he's consigned to it.
My theory is that shortly before season 8 started, Bud was being a peeping Tom and looked where he shouldn't looked and spotted some evil witch changing, and she cursed him because weird stuff seems to happen to Bud. Like he'll get a job, and before the day's over, his face is all over a bus. People immediately seem to know where he's going to be. And if a girl dumps him, it's front page news, sometimes literally. It's... I don't know, like, I think they've really leaned in that Bud is an absolute punching bag, and we don't need to give people reasons for how they know it.
Well, he is Al's son. I mean, let's be honest, Al's a punching bag, so why wouldn't his son be a punching bag? As to where, you know, Kelly is definitely Peggy's daughter in how they work her character. So it kind of makes sense that Bud would be such a punching bag, because he's the younger mirror to Al, as where Kelly's the younger mirror to Peggy.
You're right, and they skip the obvious dog connection, because doesn't that work? Like, the boss kicks the dad comes home and kicks the son, and then the son gets mad and kicks the dog. But in this family, everyone just kicks Bud.
Even Buck kicks him. I love that part. Buck walks in with the little thing on his head and the mic and
the ice
thermometer.
Thermometer.
Yeah.
I still, even though I did think that the sight gags with Buck are really funny, I still have a problem hearing Buck speak.
I think it's used pretty well. It made me laugh later when he's just like, go. Maybe we should have said fetch instead of go. And then immediately, I still would have gone. And then it's what I imagine my dog or my cat are like thinking when I'm looking at them.
Also have to find out a few things, because Grip mentions that Bud also called 976 numbers from the store.
Oh,
God. And those were premium rate telephone numbers of that day. And if you wanted to charge a telephone user to call a number like a psychic hotline or for phone sex, you would dial something like 312-976, and whatever. If they were Chicago based, and starting in around 1980, they switched to something like 1-900 almost exclusively. And Mary Joan has referenced these before in season 2, episode 4, season 2, episode 20, and season 4, episode 8. The last one is 976 Shoe, which is one of my all-time favorites. And it started the demise of Steve.
I always forget.
Leaving the show.
I always forget 976 Shoe. That's the reference of 976. I don't recall these. I knew 1-900 numbers existed, but I didn't know there was so many different variations of it.
Becky decides to get the car wash.
You know, Peg, I hate car washes. That Dodge is a finely tuned precision instrument. And I don't want some stranger's rough hands all over it.
Sir, we need the keys.
Now, you keep your hands off my CD player.
Al, we don't have a CD player.
Well, we would have, Peg, if you hadn't said that.
Would you just calm down? This is supposed to be fun. Let's buy a car air freshener.
Do they have a scent called New Wife? See, Peg, your trouble is you spend money on a frivolous, a racing stripe.
The Dodge does not need a racing stripe. It couldn't hit 60 if you dropped it out of a plane.
No, but you could, Peg. Ooh, Peg, look, car bras.
The Dodge does not need a car bra.
Well, it's not for the Dodge, Peg. No, it's for your mom. See, it's even in her size. Astrovan.
And so they go to Troggett's car wash. And, you know, it's seen on the aprons that the workers wear. Tyler, do you remember who Troggett was?
Oh, I very well do. So yeah, Troggett's car wash, or specifically Troggett's house of scrubbin', as in Walter Troggett, in season 8, episode 20. And you know what, Stephen? I actually forgot about that. I had to look that back up. But you're right. Like I think Walter Troggett, which is such a very specific name, it has to have been just used constantly. It's a perfect name of a local Midwestern just car wash out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and I just, they're always referring back. Of course, in this season, we've kind of lost those old references to like Reverend Felcher or the Donnellys or, other people in the neighborhood, like the McGinty's that were also in the neighborhood. We don't have that anymore. And I think it's because this season really got a boost shot in the arm with new characters like Griff, Bob Rooney, and Miranda Veracruz, Cardinal. I forget her entire name. But, all these characters are new characters introduced. So I think they were trying to move away from referring to those old characters like maybe.
That's true, and it's always better, unless you're introducing a new character or trying to build up a new one that's already on the show, always best to go to a new location. And what do we all think about Troggett's house of scrubbing? What do we think about the set, guys? We like it?
I like anything that has a random Intellivision 2 in it. I don't know if y'all caught that, but there is an Intellivision 2 at their store, and I thought that was neat, being a big fan of retro gaming.
You're going to have to explain, because my brain does not register what you just said.
An Intellivision 2, so back in the late 70s, early 80s, back when the Atari 2600 was the big thing, its competitors were Intellivision and ColecoVision. Intellivision put out a secondary model that really, it wasn't like an upgrade or anything, it was really just a more compact design, and called it the Intellivision 2. And they have it, it's just sitting in the store.
So there's a device, much like the device, the Atari, which I do know, called a Intellivision, and then there's a Intellivision number 2, like PlayStation 2.
Correct. And there was going to be an Intellivision 3, but they ended up canceling it. Originally it was supposed to be the upgraded that was, for like going from a PS1 to a PS2, but instead they didn't do it. And then they were like, well, we'll just do an Intellivision 4. No one will notice we didn't put out a 3.
They skipped it?
And then they didn't put out the Intellivision 4. But that's just amazing. The fact that there is an Intellivision 2 specifically in this episode just cracked me up in my own like niche way.
Holy crap. I don't think me and Steven, we don't talk about it, but we're not gamers, right? We don't play video
I'm not
games.
a big gamer, but I think I know what he's talking about. I have to ask my brother because we got an Atari like in 79 or 80. You know, one of those little Atari joysticks with the games, and my dad would play them with us all the time. And I think we got something after that. I think it might have been an Intellivision, but my brother might remember it. I have to check with him. I'll see him when we have Easter dinner together.
But I do like to take things like this, and I used to do this on the show all the time, where I would be like, it means this, and I'd go through this long web. So the Intellivision 2 came out and was supposed to be a better version of the Intellivision 1. But unfortunately, the new and unimproved and not selling very well unemployed Intellivision 2 didn't do much. It is the Jefferson of video games at the time, as to where the Atari 2600, the Steve, will see.
Yes. Oh, you're right. You know what? I'm reading the Television Wikipedia page right now. This is amazing, Jerry. I had no idea this thing existed or had this name. I love this. And this article was totally written by a huge game history lover. The Intellivision, the name is a portmanteau of intelligent television. It's so beautiful. And you're right, it was a base competitor for the Atari 2600. And it is the second generation, and I'm looking through it, and I love it. There's Intellivision, Intellivision 2, Intellivision 4, the third generation.
Yes, and while the Intellivision 2, to some people, looks better and is sleeker, it doesn't do anything. So why some people think Jefferson looks better and sleeker and all that, he doesn't do anything.
So basically what you're saying is Jefferson is the Atari 2600 and Steve is the Intellivision.
No. Steve is the Atari 2600 because he was first on the scene. He really was a big important thing to happen, as to where only very select people are going to know what an Intellivision 2 is and understand that it's not as good as an Atari 2600, and would go on a random rant on a podcast how this Intellivision 2 that is on the set for no apparent reason is actually this intricate thing that states how Steve is better than Jefferson, who works at the place with the Intellivision 2.
Huh. So I guess that would make Al a game of Pong.
Yeah, Al is a standalone Pong console.
Oh, just zoom into his brain.
I played that back in the 70s. I'll never forget that. My dad got it. You know, he was a doctor, so we could get all this fun stuff like that. And we played Pong, and we thought it was the greatest thing in the world back in like 1975 or 6 when it came out. It was unbelievable. You know, also, Al tries to keep your hands off my CD player. Al, we don't have a CD player. Well, we would have if you hadn't said that.
Yeah, also, let's talk about all the random, like, I've never been to a car wash that was also a almost convenience store. Like, the amount of crap Peggy has put into her cart, and then the random stuff they point out, like the racing stripe, that makes sense. The car bra, Astrovan size.
Uh-huh.
Like, I've never been to a car wash that has all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, you want to field that one, Steven? Because if not,
well, actually, believe it or not, there's a Love's Country store. They're based here in Oklahoma City. They're around most of the country, but it's a combination of a convenience store and a car wash.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have car washes, but not all of them. Okay, I'd probably say maybe 50% of them do. And you can go in there and you can buy crap like this.
And watch your car being, like, washed in the background. Like, when it's a very strange... It's not strange, but it's a completely different type of service that... You said you live in Memphis, Jerry?
Nashville.
Nashville. Right, yeah. Well, regardless, you live in a big city. You're not going to see these things in big cities too often, but they really are on the outskirts of big cities. In the more rural areas, you'll see huge setups. And that guy coming up, hey, we need your keys. Or screwdriver. And they'll literally, it's a full service thing. They'll take it out and you can chill in there. There's probably popcorn and drinks and stuff. It's a whole outing. I literally remember doing this with my family. Let's go get the car washed. I'm not kidding.
And thinking that this was Chicago back, which is a huge market. I mean, we're talking super urban. And then you have the suburbs. Yeah. They're likely going to get something like this in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As
opposed to, say, mid-sized town like Tulsa or Muskogee, which is a neighboring city here. But, I have seen those. They are rare, but they are out there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mentioned the screwdriver being, the screwdriver, the keys to your car. There was an earlier reference to that. I forgot in what episode, but I think it was last season. And I knew a guy, you didn't even need a key to turn on his car.
Oh, actually, you're right. You know what? I've been watching a ton of Sons of Anarchy for the first time, Jerry. And it took me out of it a teeny bit when I was watching the episode right before we started recording. Just to hear Peggy's voice. And just the other night, seeing Katie Seagal get smacked around by Clay, it was just very startling. But they're on Sons of Anarchy. She tries to steal a car by literally whipping out a knife and jamming it into the ignition, turns it, and nothing happens, and just goes, dang, and has to rip open the undercarriage and actually hotwire it. And
it used to work on the Dodge.
Right? Yeah, apparently you can do that with older cars. I don't think you can do that anymore, but just jam something in there and twist it.
Either way, it's a great sight gag.
He wants to buy a racing stripe, and Peggy says it doesn't need a racing stripe.
A racing stripe.
Also, the guy that comes and asks for the keys, Ian, is the actor Ian Gomez, which, if you're a fan of the Drew Carey Show, like I was, which does not have a release anywhere. Mill Creek, get on that. I'll take a DVD release only if I have to.
Shout Factory, get on it. Ugh.
Yeah, either somebody. He's been in a lot of sitcoms.
Mm-hmm. I recognized him the second he walked out. I was like, oh, he's probably biting his cheek, trying not to laugh. But one of Jerry, you mentioned the. Was it the van diaper? No, wait, the car bra.
The Astro van size car bra.
That was another great 3-point joke that they made. They're like, the Dodge does not need a car bra, because the car bra, that's the joke right there. That's just a funny thing to say.
Great sight joke.
It's not for the car, it's for your mom. Oh, they even have it in her size.
Yeah, because at first you think he's throwing that at Peggy, and you're like, oof, wow, Al, you're trying to dig that grave early. But then he flips it around since they're going to Wanker County and says it's about her mom, and it's just like, oh, that's great, because once again, you hit joke again, third joke, and it works out so great. These three key jokes are just something that Married with Children just does fantastic.
I know, it's their Emmy ammo, as we'll see later on.
You know something, Kel? I always wondered. You think that hot carnauba wax really comes out when the light goes on?
Gee, bud, maybe you should save those mind-bending insights for a date. Or perhaps a willing rubber ear.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kel. I forgot the only talking that goes on your dates is keep the line moving.
Look at this place. What kind of loser works at a car wash?
But Marcy, I don't want to work in a car wash.
Look, I am tired of coming home after a hard day's work and hearing you say, honey, guess who was on Oprah today? It's like being married to Peggy.
Come on, I mean, this is the most embarrassing thing in the world.
There is nothing wrong with an honest day's pay. Besides, who is going to see you?
We find out that Jefferson has a job at the car wash because Marcy is wanting him to start working.
This is a fancy ass car wash to be working at too. I couldn't imagine working at a car wash where they make me have a long sleeved tucked in shirt with a very slick apron on and a Windex holster. Apparently, like it looked quite professional. If I had to work at a car wash, I wouldn't mind working there.
Marcy.
Steve.
Marcy.
So, what brings you to the car wash?
Well, my car was dirty, and they do such a lousy job of cleaning it down at the batting cages, I thought I'd bring it here.
Well, it's nice to see you're still such a sarcastic twit, Steve. Besides, I thought you were in the desert protecting the wildlife and performing guys and dolls with your little cactus friends.
That, much like our marriage, was just a phase. I did the environmental thing for a while and then decided I wanted to find myself. And what I found was myself likes money. So, did Mr. Marcy let you out alone?
Have you, been here long?
Well, I guess for a little while. It takes a long time to detail a Lincoln town car.
You're driving a town car?
I live in town. So, where is the new unimproved, unemployed me? At home watching Richard Bay?
If it's Jefferson you're referring to, I'll have you know he's at the office. You know, where he's busy working on his...
Tan?
Career.
Steve returns, and I love the audience reaction. Jerry, how did you feel when you saw Steve come out?
I was so excited to see Steve show up in a full suit, looking good. And it's so great. The audience did not know he was coming. They blow up. In fact, the whole Steve looking at his watch thing, David Garrison did that on his own because they kept laughing and he couldn't say his lines. So he checked the time, which was fantastic. And I was just like, this is what I need in my life is Steve. I love that Marcy immediately pushes Jefferson into the bathroom and is like, I have to hide the fact that he works here because I'm just
hide.
Hide into a woman's bathroom. And Steve is just coming in looking just sharp. How I want Steve to look. Steve, I like Steve in a flannel, but man, Steve in a suit, that is killer.
And I noticed something too. I remember you mentioning this when he first returned in The Egg and I, that he was crazy Steve with this wild look in his eye. He doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, he's no longer wild and crazy. He's got himself looking good. He's turned his life around, maybe. But he's back to being his own personal confident self, or at least he's able to portray that in front of Marcy now, compared to the last time he really appeared in Marcy's life.
I would like to see a backstory on that because, he was hauled away by the feds for stealing that egg. So he probably faced jail time, and I'm wondering.
I think we got.
I would love that backstory. I would love that backstory.
Oh, he didn't get jail time. He got first offense. He got community service, and that's why he was out doing theater of gals and dolls with cactuses.
Yes, and you're both wrong. He didn't get jail time. It wasn't a first offense thing. The only thing he got was an omelet. And then... but no, like, I think he said it all right there, because there's a lot of setup for Steve that's not told up front. It's actually told through reflection, because, spoiler alert, his suit, he's actually a town car personal driver and chauffeur, which is made as a joke to show he's not really high class or put together. That's a well-paying, very competitive job to get. And he looks like he's doing it for someone quite professional and everything. Like that's a good job to have. That can get you up there. And the fact is that his boss, I don't know why his boss was in there for so damn long, and maybe business meeting or something, but he had to be here to get this car washed. While he's in there, he sees Marcy and Jefferson maybe like filling out the application, getting Jefferson his shirt. He immediately had to toss his hat away, make up this plan to get the shoes shined, and stand there looking all poised and everything. Like, I control my image now.
You're right. It does make sense that he didn't keep the hat on, because normally they would keep the hat on. So it does make sense that he probably did actually see Marcy in there and took off the hat, switched shoes. And when he walked in there and he was, checking his suit and checking his watch, he wasn't doing that like for anything other than waiting for Marcy to see him.
Mm-hmm. He's a professional stage actor, able to tell a lot with his body and just the way he stands and the way he looks and the way he speaks.
Yeah, and the way he speaks is perfect, along with Amanda Bierce as Marcy. It's like, Steve, Marcy, Steve, Marcy. And then he has to get in his dig, too, when she jokes about him doing Guys and Dolls. He says, same old Marcy, flat and to the point.
Yeah, which, by the way, the Gals and Dolls joke is a joke because Steve, the actor David Garrison, left the show to go do theater, stage productions. So that was kind of a joke on him. And apparently the joke about him doing theater with cactuses is also a reference to the Peanuts and Snoopy's brother, who apparently talks to cactuses. I don't like the Peanuts enough to know that. That
is a super obscure like reference they made. I wasn't even going to bring it up because I was like, no one's going to know that. But yeah, like that. But yeah, the Guys and Dolls thing, they're really bringing the actual life of this actor, David Garrison, into the show, and I appreciate that. And he got a really good, my favorite dig for him was when Marcy goes, I have a better husband who is more materialistic than even you. And he goes, I'm sure. And how much of that material is yours?
Yeah,
Ooh.
Steve is really, really on his Al Bundy comebacks here. Like, he's just got him. Like, I love the fact that he puts Marcy in her place, never lets her win, always gets his one up the entire episode.
A very, very obscure reference comes up when, Steve mentions, where is the new unimproved me? At home watching Richard Bay.
And if you were a woman who had a child that wasn't being supported by its father, and then you saw the father go out and have another baby with another woman, wouldn't it make you mad? It's made our guests today mad as heck.
Yeah, for those of you who remember the 90s, actually, I don't remember this guy too much. Richard Bay, he was born July 22nd, 1951. He's an American talk show host, and he was popular in the 90s as the host of The Richard Bay Show. and it ran from 1992 to 1996. And it was produced in Secaucus, New Jersey, later syndicated across the country. And, this was when talk shows really started to go downhill. And they started to go for the sleaze and the muck and all that stuff. And it featured the Richard Bay show. It featured competitive events like the Miss Big Butt contest and the Mr. Puniverse contest, the drag queen cities versus the drag queens, dysfunctional family feud, and blacks who think OJ is guilty versus whites who think he is innocent. It was all just it was ridiculous. It was probably I don't know when the Jerry Springer show started, but this was a good precursor to it. However, going back to Al, we find out he's having problems of his.
So what'd you get, Al?
Huh? Nothing.
I saw you over there by the audio cassettes. What'd you get? Ned Beatty sings the blues?
He's got it right.
I'm gonna put this back. Now, let's get the car.
They better not have screwed up my Dodge, Peg.
They are not gonna screw up the Dodge, Al. They're professionals.
Mr. Bundy, I don't know how to tell you this, but we can't find your car.
What do you mean you can't find my car? I saw it go in.
Me too, but it never came out. That'll be $8.95.
Ned Betty sings the blues.
And he's got it right.
Oh, my God. But yeah,
do y'all get that joke, by the way? Do y'all understand what that means?
I do, referring to Deliverance?
Yeah,
probably.
Because of what happens in Deliverance, he has the right to sing the blues.
Ned Thomas Beatty, he was born July 6, 1937. I don't know if he ever put out a blues album or not. Probably not, because I don't think he was that good of a singer. But he was a very well-rounded, very seasoned actor. He was nominated for an Academy Award on a few occasions. He was also nominated for an Emmy Award and a Golden Globe. He was in a lot of different types of movies, ranging from comedy to horror. He was in The Silver Streak. He was in All the President's Men. He was Father Edwards in The Exorcist 2, which shall never be mentioned again because it was such a bad movie. He was Otis in Superman, where I remember him from. That was one of my first reveals for him. And he was also Rudy Rudiger's father in Rudy, made in 1993. And he's probably best known for being, I think his name was Bobby Tripp or something like that. Bobby Trippy in the movie Deliverance. And that's probably where they got the joke where he sings the blues, and I won't discuss it anymore.
Okay, all right, and you know what, listeners, if you want to know what that is, go figure that out on your own.
We're not allowed to say it on cable TV.
If I can't say F-bombs, we can't say that for sure.
If you haven't seen Deliverance, it is a very powerful movie. It's more of a guy movie, too. I don't know if the ladies would enjoy it.
Oh, I think they'll enjoy it very much. Sit back and go, this normally happens to us. I'm glad to watch it happen to you.
And just literally make sure the squeamish people leave the room at the right time. The rest of the movie is a great, beautiful, beautiful shots of a part of Americana that doesn't usually get displayed quite well in film. It's usually, when that part is filmed, it's usually like in Florida or in Atlanta or in a backlot in LA. They actually went to the locations where they were going to shoot there, so it's gorgeous.
I hate to admit this, I don't hate to admit this part, but my grandparents were from Stillwell, which is a small rural community here in Oklahoma, and both of them are gone. And me, I've been a guitar player for a long time, and whenever I would go down to Stillwell with my parents and my aunt and my cousins, I would always start to play the guitar version of Dueling Banjos. Yeah, I know how to play that. And I was just doing it as a joke because, it was kind of fun growing up with one foot in Stillwell. Kind of get the idea between rural and urban. and knowing the best of both worlds, because there's something to say for small towns. But, I remember my grandfather telling me, don't be playing that song here.
Yeah, but there's a really interesting type of movie genre that Deliverance is in. Same with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I don't like using the term because I think it is insensitive, but hillbilly cinema, it does partake, but sincere hillbilly stuff. Same thing with King of the Hill. There is something about that type of American values and culture that's actually quite endearing if shot and done.
That's true, because there are really two types of rednecks. There are good, wise rednecks that kind of know how to read people and are intelligent, and then there are the dumb ones who are always
Wanker
making
County.
Yeah, and that's it. That's your Wanker County.
Oh God, Wanker County and Deliverance, that's where they went. That's where Deliverance was. They were in Wanker County. Oh, no. Oh.
I don't know if Wanker County is smart enough to do the stuff the Deliverance guys did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that guy knew 4 chords and had at least all his fingers. So, good point.
This is a post-production note regarding Ned Beatty. On June 13th, 2021, he died at the age of 83, about 2 months after the podcast was recorded and about a week and a half to 2 weeks after it was fully produced. Oscar-nominated actor who appeared in over 160 films. Ned, thank you for all the wonderful characters that you portrayed. We hope you rest in peace. This episode is dedicated in your memory. Mikey, the manager, walks in and says that they lost his car.
What do you mean you lost it? I saw it go in. So
it didn't come out.
It didn't come out.
I wondered, I thought, okay, maybe it fell apart in there.
That's the joke that I thought, is that they were going to go with it broke down. It couldn't handle the hot wax and the water and all that, and it broke down. And when Al would go inside the car wash, he would trip over it or something. But I guess really that doesn't make sense either, because even if the car is old, at most the tires fall off or something, but it can't fall into pieces like it's a Looney Tunes cartoon.
This is the closest the show ever got to trolling me legitimately, because I thought first, when they were going to look into the window, I thought, there's pieces all on the ground. You're right, I thought it fell apart. No, they didn't do that. I was like, oh, wait, maybe this is a secret car theft thing. They steal cars, and then they give you a lemon beater and stuff, and then they transfer it over, and it's going to be a joke how Al's car is actually bad or good or great. And while I'm thinking that, then it goes away. I'm just like, then what is it?
Oh, you know what would have been great? If it would have been that, they take these people's cars and then they give them a beater. Oh, well, till we find your car, here's a beater. But they take Al's car and they give him a beater only for the beater to be better than Al's car. So they're like, oh, we found your car.
Yeah, he opens up the trunk and instead of Biggins, there's Red Book in there. There's just so many interesting ways that could have gone, but
And then they could have tied it in with Steve's like if they were going to do the Steve getting caught, like they could have actually tied it in with Steve's car getting stolen, and then, you know, his employer coming out and throwing a fit and all of that in front of Marcy. Like they could have actually tied that in more together, because for some reason they decided that Steve was not going to interact with anyone except for Marcy.
It was a smart move. I hear what you're saying, and I totally would have loved a choose your own adventure kind of like path with this episode, because I would like to see that. But at the same time, I think this is a feel-good episode. This is a greatest hits for the fans. We're bringing back an old guest, and we're going to put that guest where that guest should be so strong, very strongly enough, and we're going to make sure Al is with his family, so there's no reason for him to have to be paired up with anybody. And we're going to shoestring Marcy and Jefferson in, but actually now shoestring, that makes sense. Marcy is always trying to get him to work, and she literally dragged his ass to work, and it all pretty much works out. To put Steve with Al would, this late in the game, wouldn't make much sense. It would imply that there's going to be more stuff going on with Steve, rather than this very nice, albeit sad for you, Jerry, final send-off.
No, he appears in one more episode.
Oh, well, not fine. It totally, to me, was implied that this was a final.
Oh, yeah. Send-off. I guess I just really wanted to go back to the days when him and Al would both kind of go in on Marcy. Like, that to me was, I kind of really wanted that. But I guess in my mind, I also wanted them to also make fun of Jefferson, but I know that's not going to happen.
It's too many variables to be bouncing around. It would get a little too crazy.
Exactly.
And you forget, Jerry, this is their Emmy shot. Audiences don't like big experimental things like that. To quote Fry from Futurama, smart things make people feel stupid, and exciting things make people feel scared.
I just, when I look at it, I think that they just didn't have enough time to do anything with Al. What I missed, though, with Steve and Al was the way they would go at each other sometimes. How Steve would deride Al, who in here is reading art books, who in here would be reading. That's a good one from one particular episode. Even when he came back in the Egg and I, he was still insulting them. I see you've gone to college since I left. He's just that little sarcastic asshole.
Mm-hmm. The odd couple pairing between the two of them.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was what I liked about the Steve and Al dynamic, is that, they were friends, but there was still a little friction in there. And Al essentially chipped away at Steve's veneer to show what he really was.
You're right, but unlike the odd couple, where if you always see how the both kind of influence the other very subtly, in this version, Al is not raised up by Steve in any way, shape, or form. Al, much like a horrible spore, infects everything around him and brings Steve down onto his level, or the Bundys themselves just poison the Darcys, just completely. I loved that, and you're right, that would have been really cool.
I used to bring that up all the time on the show about Steve getting influenced by Al and making jokes that he would not normally have made because of Al. And we even brought in a few times where Peg influenced Marcy. So that's always been something that's happened.
You see, listeners, this is why on the show they didn't have Al and David doing this stuff, because much like our guest here, who's totally taking credit for my awesome pointing out things by reminding everybody of better times, the show was scared. They didn't want that to happen.
Hello, this is Carl, aka Mr. Wildcat, coming to you from Tucson, Arizona. I would like to congratulate the Married Children podcast on making it to its 200th episode, and I would like to give a special thanks to Alex Edwards for making the Married Children podcast a reality. I've watched the Married Children podcast every single week. I first caught onto it during the podcast hiatus between seasons 7 and 8, and I've been watching every week since, and I do tune into old episodes just to catch up on what I've been missing. I have been watching Married Children for the past 19 years, dating back to my freshman year in high school, and Married Children podcast has added additional elements to each episode that I never even thought existed. And that's pretty much my most favorite part of tuning to the podcast. Congratulations again, and I look forward to hearing you guys week in and week out. Bear down, guys.
Hello everyone, Chris Gunter here, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk about how much I enjoy the Married with Children podcast. If you've listened to the episodes I've reviewed with the rest of the team, you know that I've been a fan of the show since I was a little kid. And, I never imagined that I would find a fan group this amazing. And never in my wildest dreams did I envision myself being part of the podcast team itself. It's truly been one of the great pleasures of my life, going over these episodes and having fun with all the fans in this group. I kind of envision myself probably 20 or 30 years from now watching Married with Children reruns and enjoying them, and then listening to the podcast episodes and saying, hey, it's amazing I was a part of that. And I also, of course, want to thank Alex Edwards. He's our founder and executive producer. Thank you, Alex, for founding the greatest Married with Children podcast in the world. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I'm the manager.
Of what, the Mets?
I don't take lip from shoe salesmen. Now, what do you want? I have a book report due tomorrow.
Well, I want my car. It never came out the other end.
Are you sure you brought a car?
No, I drove the wife. Of course I brought a car, you zit farm.
Hey, Daddy. I'm afraid I got some more bad news. Now, I thought I'd check the lost and found.
Oh, this ought to be good.
There were no Dodges. There was a nice Plymouth, though.
Ooh, Al.
I don't want a Plymouth Peg. I want my Dodge Dagnabbit.
Dagnabbit? What'd you do, get the Hooked on Phonics Yosemite Sam tape? This is ridiculous. How can our car just disappear?
Siegfried and Roy make that tiger disappear.
Well, we all know where that goes.
Look, Bundy, we don't want you to go away dissatisfied customer. So here's a card good for 1 free car wash.
Now, this is ridiculous. I'm going to retrace my steps. Somewhere in this car wash is a Dodge with my name on it.
Gee, I didn't know they made a Dodge loser.
Hey, wait a minute, I have an idea. Let's have Buck go search for it. He's a dog.
Oh, come on, he's 100. He misses when he tries to lick himself.
No, so do you. But a dog never loses his sense of smell. Go find the Dodge, Mighty Buck. Go! Go!
What's he doing?
He's going.
Maybe I should have said leave.
I still would have gone.
And they kind of keep the Looney Tunes aspect in there that the show went to in the latter years. When there's a line in there when Al says, "I want back my Dodge Dagnabbit," and the kid says, "Oh, who are you, Yosemite Sam?"
Oh yeah, would you get the? What he's saying wasn't Rosetta Stone. But the joke of it being
Hooked on Phonics.
Yeah, the Hooked on Phonics Yosemite Sam. That was a fantastic line.
That flew right past me. I didn't hear, I saw it on the subtitles and I was like, wait, did that say Yosemite Sam? And I rewound. I'm like, oh, wow, that was a good Looney Tunes like joke right there.
And yeah, let me tell you where that's from. Hooked on Phonics, it's a commercial brand of educational materials. It was designed for reading and education through phonetics, or sounding out a word. And these commercials was advertised extensively on TV throughout the radio and TV through the 1990s.
Hooked on Phonics worked for me. 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 Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Learn to read with Hooked on Phonics, the musical reading program. Then, read to learn with SRA reading comprehension used by over 60 million people.
Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
I also like that they kept they kept bringing up Plymouth in this, especially since the car that's actually used as his Dodge is a Plymouth in real life.
That's true. And then I do like the part when, they're saying this is ridiculous. The car should be here. Kelly thinks Buck can find it. And he says, go, Buck, go. What's he doing? Well, he's going. I like that. And
And we totally did miss it. But one of the things I loved about this set was the view into the car wash, which we get a full panning shot of Al doing his most Looney Tunes thing of this episode. Something we've all probably thought of doing at one point in our lives. Just we'll go right through the car wash.
I said, there's got to be a logical explanation for this.
And maybe somebody stole it.
We would have seen somebody driving off in our car.
We're not observant.
There are 4 of us. One of us would have had to see something.
Well, if that car is still here, it's not going to get past me.
Yeah, let's just keep our eyes peeled.
Al is trying to retrace the steps. He's going in there trying to find his car. And you're right, that scene is hilarious.
Oh, by the way, if you want to see the Intellivision, you do see it while Al is walking through the car wash.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
because I was wondering where you saw that.
There it
anyway.
I know what you're doing, Sitting there like some soulless, money-grubbing snob because you know it turns me on. Well, it's not going to work. I already have a man, and he's even more materialistic than you.
And how much of that material is yours?
Are you implying that I support Jefferson and that he's never earned a penny in his life? Because you don't know the half of it. Are those Gucci loafers?
Yes, they do look smashing on me, don't they?
Well, they do distract from the rest of you.
Same old Marcy, flat and to the point.
And then I like the more interaction that Steve has with Marcy when he's getting his shoes shined. Remember, he's got his newspaper up and he kind of peeks at her, pulls up the newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, him and his Gucci loafers.
Yes. I never heard of Gucci loafers.
Oh, I have. They're something I can't afford.
Yeah, Gucci is very, very expensive, and loafers are basically old, rich, white people shoes.
So I guess Al would have no concept of those types of shoes.
No, Al probably doesn't even sell loafers in his shoe store.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I wondered if that was, a joke inserted in there. Gucci loafer shoes. Al works at a shoe store. I don't know. Just theory.
You know what? Since we're bringing up we're salivating all over Steve's attire and everything, I think we should bring up. I'm just scrolling through the episode on my iPad while we're doing this. Marcy's outfit. It is disgustingly gross color. However, I kind of dig the horse vest that she has on. You guys catch this vest she's wearing?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, her outfits just get weirder and weirder. I do like her hair like this, though. I'm a fan of the hair.
Yeah, it's real Meg Ryan and
Yeah.
like You Got Mail kind of look going.
You realize that for being caught in the women's restroom, we're gonna dock you a week's pay?
Well, there goes that yacht I was gonna buy.
You're already on thin ice, Mr. Ivy League pervert in the bathroom looking at women's skirts. Now I don't want any more shenanigans out of you. I want you buffing the next thing that comes out of here.
Al, what are you doing here?
Well, I was on my way to Wanker, thought I'd stop and walk through the car wash.
Wasn't the wax hot?
Yeah. Well, that's the price you pay if you want to wear a bikini.
Mikey, who doesn't take gruff from shoe salesman, is mad at Jefferson for being in the girls' bathroom that Marcy shoved him into. Oh, man. And he says, we're going to dock your pay. And then there's Jefferson saying, well, there goes that yacht I wanted.
A whole week of the first week of his pay on his first day. Guess what? My boss says he's going to dock my first week's pay on my first day. Guess what? That's my last day. Screw that. I'm out.
And I also think it's just as funny. Well, I doubt if he got the hot car wax. And Jefferson is there at the end agreeing, and wasn't the car wax hot? And I love how his response is, well, you got to make sacrifices to wear a bikini.
And on paper, you're right, that's so great. But on paper, this probably seemed a little silly and to not put it in, but I'm so glad they left it. Those two extras that immediately start buffing Al.
Yeah.
You guys buff whatever the heck comes out of there. Well, okay. They don't even blink. They're just like, oh, and also great use of extras. There's just so much going on here. The dude who's buffing Steve's shoes, you see him like a minute and a half later in one of those orange aprons buffing a car in the background.
Well, Marcy, I see the town car is ready. Anyway, sorry I didn't get a chance to see that busy executive husband of yours.
That's right. He is busy doing what an executive does. Interfacing, networking, making multi-million-dollar decisions.
Hey, Willie, towel or sponge on the hubcaps?
I see he's in the middle of a power wash.
Okay, so maybe he's not on the Forbes 400 or 4,000, or maybe he wouldn't even be a rich man in Peru. But he's got something you will never have.
A Windex holster?
Class. Which, I might add, money can't buy. Jefferson doesn't need to make a lot of money. I'm happy with him just the way he is.
Marcy? That's so good.
Shut up. Let's go.
I thought you wanted me to work.
I do. It's just that I have another position in mind for you. Maybe two.
Here, you dropped your hat. Come on, get in the car. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Aren't those my shoes?
Oh, yes, sir. I had them polished for you.
Barely escaping the truth, we find out that, well, Steve is just a chauffeur. Because his boss came out, and his boss is played by Pierre Gonneau. I'm thinking that's how you say it. It's Gonneau. He only has 9 acting credits, and he's credited as Mr. DePlayer. So I don't know what that is. So he's the president of Tremaine University. He has some sporadic stuff. He was in a single episode of Ironside back in '73. Also, he was in Cannon, another one in 1974. Then he has a long break in here.
He was also in a very fun movie called Heartbreakers. I don't remember him in it, but it stars Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Anyhow, not much is known on him. We just know he's the president of Tremaine University. We're not going to see him again, but we're assuming this is the person that Steve is going to blackmail in order to become the president of Tremaine University. Yes, Steve will return a little bit later this year. It's going to be called Radio Free Tremaine. It's probably the only one with Steve I don't like at all. Of course, Marcy gets to trade some barbs with her ex-husband once again. And Jerry, don't be surprised. I'm sure you'll be invited to partake in that one. So, anyhow, Jerry, what are your thoughts?
We, the audience, get the wink at the end that, you know, he's not as high and mighty as, you know, he's made Marcy believe. But the fact that they didn't ruin that by showing Marcy just made it so much better.
I was so happy. I was just like, quick, get in the car, drive away. You're on top. You win. It's total. The lie doesn't exist unless somebody knows. Hurry up.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of funny because this whole Steve and Marcy thing is just way funner and more interesting to watch than the Bundy storyline that's going on here, which some of the jokes for me don't really work about, you know, them just trying to find this car and can't find the car. They make it work story-wise, but it's just some of the jokes kind of don't land for me as much, and it's maybe because they're using all the quick wit on Steve and Marcy.
I think this also kind of serves as a direct sequel to The Egg and I in a way, because when he went to see Marcy that night, he was thinking, I'm going to get back with her. She's going to miss me. We're going to get together again. And that didn't happen. And so now he's just totally through with her. And so he is going to try and deride her as much as he can. The hatred's probably come back. He doesn't like being upstaged by a gigolo, although he doesn't know that Marcy sometimes calls out Steve when making love to Jefferson, as it was referenced in a previous episode.
Yeah, but but you know what? You guys are both on point with that statement, especially Jerry. The way you said he's getting all these great Al digs because he has to be doing that.
Very nice, Al. You are over here dilly-dallying with Jefferson, and we're out looking for the car.
Peg, what is it with you? You can change 6D batteries in the dark, but you can't find a 2-ton automobile in broad daylight.
Let's not start talking about who can't find what in the dark.
All right. Here's what we'll do. We'll split up.
Then what?
That's it. Just split up. I should have thought of this years ago.
Dad, what about the car?
Look, I say we each take a different path and circle the lot. I mean, the Dodge has got to be here.
Bud's right. But when we find it, we still get to split up, don't we?
I love how he says we should split up. Oh, man, the kids don't want to give up. The car has to be there. And so I love Bud makes this suggestion. Why don't we all circle the place and see if we can find it? And Al is like, we still get to split up, though, don't we?
You know, I can't believe it. It's gone. The Dodge is really gone.
Maybe the earth opened up and swallowed it.
No, then it would have spit it back up.
You know, it's not so much the Dodge as what was inside it.
What was in it?
Stuff.
Biggins?
I'm not saying.
Just got off the phone with the owner, and he wants to do something to make this up to you.
Like what?
We're gonna buy you another car.
I don't want another car.
Shut up, Al.
But Peg, there's still stuff in that car.
Shut up.
How does new Hyundai sound?
Like an old lawnmower. I want my car.
Al, would you please shut up and just take the car before somebody comes
Mr. Bundy, we found your car.
Of course.
Where was it?
On the lot.
Yeah, when we washed all the dirt off, we found it was a different color.
Gee, Al, maybe if we got you to take a shower, we'd find out you were black. Then again.
Hey, what color was it? Red.
Hey! Come to think of it, I remember buying a red Dodge. Look at her, family. Isn't she a beaut?
Look at him, family. Isn't he a shoe salesman? Let's go.
Wait a minute. I gotta check and see if my stuff's in here.
What stuff? Oh, you know, biggins.
It's not biggins, Peg.
And then when they find the car, I liked it when they said, "Hey, we found your car. It was red."
Oh yeah, it's really the way they set that up is very well because the manager Mikey, who is played by Michael Faustino, David's brother, is saying, "Hey, we're gonna give you a new car," and Peggy's like, "Don't say no, hurry up, let's take this before they find my." And then, oh, here we go, we found your car.
Yeah. Great joke. And Peg is so disappointed. She's just so upset about, we didn't get that new car.
What was the joke on that they were making about Hyundai? About the car Hyundai? Was there a joke about that I didn't get?
I don't remember a Hyundai joke.
How's a used Hyundai sound?
Honda?
No, it was Hyundai. Hyundai's a type of car.
Well, I know I own a Hyundai.
I don't remember
Is
what
that the
Al
joke?
said back.
Exactly. He had to have said something because I remember them bringing up. It was really intense when he's just like, the owner wants to buy you a new car. Damn straight, by the way. Like, you lose my car in your car wash? Like, oh, you're absolutely buying me a new one. But no, like, how does a used Hyundai sound? Like, oh, man, I might have to pull the episode up later for this. But yeah, like, it was a nice joke because Al is so, I want my Dodge. Bring it back.
Dag nabbit. Well, I think the thing is also Dodges were made in the U.S. and Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, and those cars really came into prominence in the 90s. They were taken over in a big way, and I think that was kind of like Al wanting something that was truly American.
Oh, that's right. I drive American.
And in the previous season, he screwed up the Dodge because it was up to 1 million miles and he was ready to go and do that. And then it rolls out and gets over that 000 marker.
And now it's a new car. And then it drops.
And he has another chance for a new car and it slips through their fingers. But then there's a joke in there. Peg says, "Gee, Al, maybe you were to take a shower. We thought you're black." Then again.
Yeah, at first, wow. when the joke was originally said, maybe we're finally black, I was like, ugh, I don't know about this. But then when she goes, but then again, and kind of looks down, then I was like, okay, that's funny. Because that's...
Guys, we already made the racist joke. Make it worse now. Like, we can't take it back. Might as well double down. Like, yeah. But you know what? Married with Children, to its credit, doesn't do that too often, so... Whatever.
Well, and it's let's be honest, if you're going to have one stereotype, a big penis is a good stereotype to have.
Yeah, she didn't say something like although I'd never seen you eat a watermelon or something like that. Yeah, you totally cut that out, but
yeah, no, but she specifically glances down, which is when you watch it, you'll see her specifically glance down.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she did glance down. That's a little racy, even more racy than I would think they could get away with. Wow.
Well, this show's always gotten away with a lot of racy stuff.
And to me, Tyler and I, you have talked about this before again, in that Kelly knows something. Remember what they're supposed to do with the lever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I still I'm still wondering how they got away with that one.
I'm still wondering how they didn't remember that when he bought the Dodge, it was brown, not red.
No, he just has memories of buying a red car.
Yeah, because the Dodge was bought in season 4, Oh What a Feeling, and it was brown. It was never red.
Well, Al didn't have his glasses at that point. Oh, wait, no, he still doesn't have them now. Never mind. That doesn't work either.
Well, it's inconsistent, but what we're dealing with Married with Children again. Of course, also in season 4, it's pretty clear he bought his old car back.
You know what? I'll agree. There is some, in a heavily continuity laid episode, they did kind of flub it with the color of the car, but I will give it to them because they actually show us the car, which I am sorry. My car is a burgundy Kia Forte that is always covered in dirt because I have to travel down dirt roads a lot. When I go through a car wash, there is no car wash that's good enough that is going to not only wipe the dirt away, but also blast the rust away and make it look like it was 2010 again. That car whatever that car they shot, probably the owner of Fox's network at the time's car, that is not a clean old car. That is a pristine, brandly, probably minted, beautiful car with a gross trunk. But it made me laugh when I saw it. The fact that we got to see it means they can make that joke. It's very startling to see that red.
Then they immediately mess it up by doing the close shot of him at the trunk and showing that the car is brown again.
Yeah.
Again, but you're worrying too much about that because you're not paying attention to what's inside the trunk.
Well, no, it actually comes back to something me and Alex would talk about a lot, where it always came down to the episode where Marcy loses her ring, and in the episode, if you watch really closely, you actually see the ring fall onto the floor, and we were just like, it's only going to be people like us who would make a podcast who are going to notice these really small, detailed things that in reality doesn't matter. It doesn't actually affect anything.
But you're right. Like the continuity it's important when it needs to be, and sometimes you just miss it. You just miss the shots, or it didn't work, and then you just. I'm sure someone was like, "Do we reshoot this?"
I'm also just like, were you not allowed to open the trunk on the red car? Were you allowed to show the trunk of the red car, but that's it? But you can't show it opened?
This is Rupert Murdoch's car. If we get one scratch on it, he's going to shoot us in the head.
Yeah, just like, what's going on here? I don't understand. But either way, like, I do love the fact that they kept making these Bigham jokes, and as they're going there, and
it's not Biggins.
It's not Biggins. And then he opens the trunk, and it is Biggins. And once again, you know, there's stuff in the car. Oh, is it Bigham? Then later on, they set that up again. And here we go. 3-parter. Oh, you've got a Bigham's in the trunk. 1, it's not Bigham's. 2, you open it up, it is Bigham's. 3, but then they hit you with their award not winning Emmy moment, as they show that he has a picture of his family, and they put up the text of, for your Emmy consideration, because even though they've done 200 episodes, they've never won an Emmy.
Okay, perfect. Right there. Better.
But Al doing random, like, sweet things for his family like that is something I've always liked. Early on in, I think, season 1, in the episode 16 Years and What Do You Get, or some title like that, we have the same kind of thing where at the end of the episode, Al does something, like, really, really sweet for Peggy. And, you know, we talk about how much he makes fun of Peggy and talks negative about her, but he really does love her. And it's also shown because he never cheats on Peggy. Even though he's had a few times, especially with those stewardesses, the flight attendants, that he could have, and he didn't. So, Al's always actually been pretty sweet on his family, and I do like that they use it very sparingly, but when they do it and they put it in there to show you that, oh yes, he still really cares for his family, it works really well.
Tyler, you and I recently did the I'll Be for Virgin, and that's the same thing in there, because in the end, they finally find a movie, Butch Cassidy, and then they're enjoying being with each other in the closet of all places at the end. So, and that's another reason why I really like this episode.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, you're right. They never finished Butch Cassidy, and they never will. But yeah, you're right. And Jerry, that's true. Like, Peggy and Al definitely have that connection, and Al does show it, and the whole family does. While you were saying that, it made me think to all the times Kelly has stuck up for Bud, and Bud has stuck up for Kelly, and Peggy to Kelly, and Al to Bud. Like, there's just so many times the show shows that this family truly does love each other. They just don't like each other.
Kelly and Bud are always at each other, but I will never forget the time Kelly got revenge for Bud and tied up Tiffany Amber Thiessen naked for messing with Bud like that.
Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite ones too. That's so savage and beautiful. But one of my favorites is Bud standing up for Kelly, because Kelly will never, ever know is when the date that dropped her off and bumped into Bud or something, like, and talked about his sister like that. Oh, okay, one sec. And just decks this guy to the ground.
He didn't deck him. He hugged him, he coughed, and he says, and you're going to get, he said something to the effect of, I've got the mumps or measles or something like that.
Most shows, family-oriented shows, they always have to try to force the idea that deep down, we really do like each other. And you know what? In reality, there are a lot of times there are members of families that don't like each other. But you love them nonetheless.
Pardon me for saying this, I haven't talked to my father in about 7-8 years. I don't want to get into all the details, but the thing is, I still worry about him because I heard he has dementia now. And I think I wouldn't want anyone to go through that. Nobody. And I hope he passes on, soon, instead of being a drawn out agony like that and putting my stepmom and his daughter through all that.
And even if you had, and you said you haven't talked to him in 7-8 years, I'm sorry about that, Stephen. That sucks. But yeah. If you were in a room and with, with somebody you do speak to with your family, and then one of your dad's old jerk buddies comes in and is like, oh yeah, Stephen, like, your dad, don't worry, man, your dad's a real blah blah blah, and starts giving him crap, you'd stand up for him too. Like,
and that's it. I would say, hey, he did the best he could, and I'm sorry. I'm sad we couldn't work things out. I really am.
You don't get to say stuff about my dad. I do.
Yeah.
You may actually be able to work things out with him now, because he may not remember it. So, and I don't mean that as a joke. I'm being serious. Like, you may actually be able to swallow the pill of letting the past go and getting like a final good memory with him, because he may not be able to remember those things. It's a gamble, but it may be one worth taking.
It might be. I just don't want to encroach right now, because I'm sure my stepmother doesn't like me too much either.
Well, you know what? That's family.
Maybe that's too personal.
You know what? No, it's not. This is a family show, Stephen, and we sometimes bring our own worlds into it. So you just made it more personal. I liked it.
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to mention that, that announcement for your Emmy consideration. Mary with Children was nominated for 7 Emmys. They didn't win any of them. Outstanding Light Direction But I Didn't Shoot the Deputy. Outstanding Light Direction again for a comedy series for the episode Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Outstanding Editing for a series from a multi-camera production in 1989 for Requiem for a Dead Barber. Also, they were nominated in the same category the next year for the episode Who Will Stop the Rain. They were nominated for Outstanding Costuming for a series in 1990 for the episode Rain Girl. They were nominated in the same category in 1981 for Married with Aliens. Yeah. And also in the same category, costuming in 1994 in Take My Wife Please. So this is that was their last Emmy nomination. And this episode played in February. So I'm not too sure when Take My Wife Please aired, but that would have been the same season pretty much. And so the Emmys would have been right around the corner. So this maybe may have also been a campaign for them to win that Emmy.
Well, Stephen, you segued me in perfectly to my last thing, because I was doing my own research on the Emmys. So the 47th Primetime Emmy Awards of 1995 aired on September 10th. That was the ceremony. Mm-hmm. And that year, the winners for Outstanding Comedy Series was Frasier. Sorry, Jerry, it knows better. Outstanding Drama was NYPD Blue, and yeah, I'm looking through all the nominees, and Married with Children, I don't even think got nominated in that year.
I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but none of those award shows matter. Emmys, Oscars, none of those matter. And you want to know why they don't matter? Because it's a bunch of elitist snobs who pick all this, what makes them look like they know high art. And they're not willing to come down to look at what is entertaining in entertainment. It does not always have to be highbrow, sophisticated. It doesn't always have to be a Steve. You can enjoy a Jefferson. It's okay. And it's okay to award a Jefferson. It's okay to say, you know what? Al's acting is hilarious. He deserves a pat on the back for that. You don't always have to make him go do a 24-hour shoe sale. And that's why Married with Children will always be such a great show, because it connects to us regular people who get to look and go, well, at least I'm not a shoe salesman, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you are a shoe salesman, then I don't know what to say, but don't say anything to me, because as Tyler already told you, we don't take no lip from shoe salesmen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Herring, most notably known as never winning an Emmy Award.
I totally agree with you on that, Jerry. I really do. As a matter of fact, after I watched this episode last night, I watched the episode before it, which was a special with George Plimpton, who analyzes Married with Children and refers to Al as the everyman, that we like to watch him because he endures all this stuff. And I think it's the people who watch the show that make it a hit. If I don't like something, like you don't like Frasier, one show I never really liked that much was Friends. I didn't think it was that great of a show.
It wasn't. Don't worry.
But the thing is, I'm not going to condemn anyone for liking it. Alex is a big fan of Saved by the Bell. I always thought that was really cheesy and corny, but Alex likes it.
And I don't really care for The Simpsons.
We're not friends anymore, Jerry. I will condemn you for that.
That's fine. You like the Ferguson episode. Are you really worth being friends with?
Yes, I am, because what I like is important. What you like, unless it's what I like, is not as important.
You must be on the committee for the Emmys.
I am, and have you noticed the lack of Emmys in your house? So
actually, I have. That is kind of weird.
I heard that speech you made about the Emmys. All I heard was a non-Emmy winner right here.
I'm not trying to brag here, but the thing is, it's kind of like at school. Every year we have this teacher of the year at our school site, then to our district, and then it goes to the state. And then we also, at my particular school, we have this thing where the kids can vote on their favorite teacher, every month. I've won a couple of those. That's more valuable to me than being nominated for Teacher of the Year at another school district I worked at about 15 years ago.
I'm thinking of you right now, Steven. Like the first time it was shown that you won beforehand, you're just like, someone's like, Mr. Scott, what do you think about the Teacher of the Year award? It's really nothing but a popularity contest. No one really cares. I mean, who doesn't matter, I think. Hey, you won. I won! Woo!
Yeah, you're going to feel a little pride in there. Like I said, I felt pride when I won it at a small district called Midway about 10, 15. Let's see, that was 2006. So that was 15 years ago. I was proud. I liked getting nominated by my peers. But when you get it more from a student, it means a lot more.
Absolutely.
If you understand what I'm getting at there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because they know me a lot more than my coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
They see me at my worst and my best. They see me when I'm doing well and when I'm not. And so awards, they're nice, but it's like the People's Choice Award. I've never watched them, but I'm more likely to watch that than the Emmys or the Oscars any days, because the people are voting on it. The audiences are.
Exactly. And Jerry, you're right. We kid around, but the Emmys, much like the Oscars, I personally don't think the winners matter. In my mind, I think if the show has weight, if the award ceremony has weight, the weight is actually being nominated. I think when they say it's an honor just to be nominated, that's not a second place is not the best or whatever. No. That's you got nominated, you got recognized, your show, your work has been shown. We can't give an Oscar to everybody, but your performance was definitely enough to get noticed by people.
Yeah, but with this, Married with Children got noticed for lighting and costuming. That it never got nominated. It never got nominated for Best Comedy Series, or none of the actors got nominated. Which, if you go back and listen to early episodes of the Married with Children podcast, Alex and I would point out constantly how good these little facial expressions they do are, and how well timed they are. It's not just how well they deliver lines, but how well they do with their facial expressions and body language that really help sell stuff. And it's just come on.
And their chemistry with other people on the set. I cannot imagine anyone else other than Ed O'Neill and Katie Seagal being Alan Pegg. No one can replace them.
I have an answer, though, I think, Jerry, for this problem. I'm going through the most major nominations, or most, the average amount of nominations by network.
Let me guess. They just nominated Cheers 27 years in a row.
Well, no, because this is more about how the Emmys choose people by their network. Nominees by NBC, 56. Nominees from CBS, 32. From HBO, 27. ABC, 20. NBC, 15. And so on and so forth. Did you notice a network that I didn't mention?
Fox.
Exactly. Fox wasn't getting any mention. So I think it's less to do with Married with Children and the fact that they're on Fox.
Let me ask, Tyler, was that during the 95 or overall?
That was 95.
Yeah, Fox was still new, and yeah, you're right. A lot of them didn't had a derision for Fox Network at that time.
And it makes absolutely sense, because the highlights of that year were outstanding comedy, outstanding music or comedy sketches. It was one of the first times that the Tonight Show with Jay Leno got on for outstanding variety music or comedy series. So comedy was big in people's mind. Frasier was out there, but since Frasier was picked, being the antithesis of Married with Children in a way, a non-family show, because Frasier is a family show in a weird way. It's not a traditional family thing, but it's...
Yeah, if you let your children watch Frasier, they will grow up to be the Menendez brothers, so be careful with that.
Absolutely. It's definitely political why the show wouldn't get it. But between you and me, I'm kind of happy that... I'm not happy that they didn't get nominated, but the fact of the matter is, in my mind, Married with Children has no place in the Emmys. They're what they offer, their brand of humor, what makes them good is not something that an award show at that time could capture. It's only when what we do when we look back and show people how good it was is how it can be really appreciated.
And it's kind of like also the TV show Roseanne. I don't know if it was nominated for any Emmys.
Oh, it was.
There was a slight difference between the two, because Roseanne and Married with Children both were more about working class people. Married with Children got a little bit too farcical in its portrayal of dysfunction in families. At least Roseanne, they were trying to create a good family, but they just went through a lot of tumult.
Roseanne was trying to emphasize trying to display the modern family of America in very realistic terms.
Yeah, Married with Children was not that realism. And on top of that, Michael Moyer and Ron Levitt, when they created it, they were wanting to call it Not the Cosbys because they were sick of Cosbys and how sugary, sweet, and saccharine it was.
Exactly.
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was funny in some spots, or it was hilarious, to be honest with you. Anyway, but they were just trying to do the antithesis of that type of series where everyone's functioning well. You know, I grew up on the Brady Bunch. I just grew up on it. You know, going home from school, you could see that and Gilligan's Island.
Exactly.
That's your
television back then.
Yeah, that was my television growing up. And so you have a fondness for it. And if you look at the Brady Bunch, that's, you know, a really one of those sugary, saccharine, sweet kind of shows.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like Full House to a certain extent, although I could not stand Full House.
I got a question for my older co-host right here. So on 1995's Outstanding Comedy Series for the Emmys, the winner was Frasier, but the other nominees were Friends, The Larry Sanders Show, Seinfeld, and Mad About You. All I know about Mad About You is the Simpsons joke, Mad About You, Mad About Shoe. I know nothing about Mad About You or the Larry Sanders Show.
Yeah, I know. I've never watched either one, but yeah, that's the thing because it's that more highbrow stuff that gets nominated a lot more.
Non-family.
Well, Mad About You was, kind of family. That was a show that Helen Hunt got really big on, if I remember correctly. And it was just about her and her husband being a married couple in New York. And that was the problem. All these shows, they're all in New York. Seinfeld, Friends, Mad About You, Frasier. It's all New York.
It's location-based comedy in a weird way. As very situational comedies were being primed for the Emmys, and Married with Children is not a situational comedy, even though it is technically a sitcom. It doesn't rely on the situational aspects of it. They create the situations rather than let the situations create the show, if that makes sense.
Married with Children is in a big city. Frasier was in a big city too, Seattle. And like what we were just talking about, Roseanne, that's a rural type of community.
Oh, yeah. Where was it? They were in, Ohio or something?
No, I think it was Illinois or Indiana.
Oh, yeah, it is Illinois. Wait, what was the town that Roseanne was in? I just remember thinking, yep, that makes sense when I saw where they were living and everything. When they said their name of their town, I'm like, yep, that makes sense that they would be living in a place like that.
You know, a more recent show that I really like, and I find a little bit of Married with Children in it, is The Middle, if you remember that, with Neil Flynn as the father.
Remember that. It's still going on.
Yeah, well, it's not going on, but I still see it in reruns from time to time. But that's a real dysfunctional family in many ways, and they still love each other, and they still go through this. They go through the same trials. It's a little bit more grounded. I think I thought that was an overlooked show. I don't know if it was ever nominated for any Emmys.
Oh, that year, John Goodman was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series as Dan Connor on Roseanne, episode The Blaming of the Shrew.
I do want to say, I think a lot of people, when they look back, they think of Roseanne as the first everyman sitcom. And really, that can't even really be said about Married with Children, because I think there were definitely shows before it that had kind of an everyman feel, especially when you start going into black TV shows like Sanford and Sons. But I do think Married with Children was like the biggest of them and really paved the road for Roseanne to come.
Yes, and
I would agree.
But priming people to feel real emotions, because I'm sorry, I'm laughing and generally getting joy and laughter watching Al and Bud make M&M shell soup because they're so poor and they have nothing, or Al's got like pennies in his wallet. But when Dan and Roseanne are at the kitchen table, and Dan says, "Yeah, I got outbid. I don't have the contract." And she's like, "Well, let's see." And she like go through the bills, and they're like, "Rent bill. We'll send the dated we'll misdate the check, and they'll have to send it back." And they're you can hear them laughing and giggling out of their situation, but at the same time, there is this big weight of, we are so close to the end, and we having our house taken away and be on the streets, and like we just can't think about that. You feel that emotion there, and you really do feel for them.
Yeah.
Huh, they're still dealing with that same exact thing in the Connors now.
I know, the world has not changed, it's gotten worse. Oh boy, there's just no end in sight.
Well, I debate you on that, and it's gotten worse in some ways, but not in other ways. But the thing is, I'm also thinking of a similar scene in Married with Children, in which Al and Peg were supposed to come up with some money they didn't have, and they said, "Where are we going to get this money from?" And they start laughing with our retirement, the children's fund for college, and they keep listing all these things. They're just laughing about their misery, finding a common bond in there. But that was geared more for laughs as opposed to that scene you were describing in Roseanne. I could think of one in the middle that did the same thing. I don't want to describe it because I don't remember it fully, but yeah, there's a difference between feeling their angst and comedy. Comedy is really laughing at someone else's misery in many ways.
No Ma'am will be right back to wrap up this week's review. Be sure to join their Facebook group page for all the podcast news and updates. Be sure to subscribe to them on the Apple Podcast app, and please leave a review telling them what you think of the show. To subscribe to their YouTube channel, just go to channels and search up Married with Children podcast. Join their Patreon and support your favorite podcast with a small monthly donation. You can email them at marriedwchildrenpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for checking out this review.
All right, so how many car bras are you going to buy in regards to Get the Dodge Out of Hell? Tyler.
Well, this is a tricky one. When I first watched it and before we started recording, I think I would have chosen 2.5 to 3, more likely 3 car bras, because the episode was funny, but it seemed really short. It seemed like it was lacking something, and our conversation really helped tie those ends together. Jerry, you mentioned how there was not enough connection with Steve and the family, and what the Bundys were going through really seemed disconnected from what was happening to the rest of the characters. But after really ruminating about it and thinking about where they wanted to go and exactly what kind of episodes were happening before and after this, I kind of bumped it back up. I think I'm going to go back in. I'm going to buy myself a 4th car bra, because it does give me a lot of what I love. It does remind me about greatest hits in a very subtle way. And the way they just trucked out Steve, I legit forgot while I was watching it. I knew he was coming in, but I forgot the appearance. And I kind of had a stunned, very, very stunned, subtle kind of stunning feeling for when it popped out. So, yeah, I'm giving it 4 car bras. I enjoyed it.
I am going to give it 4.5. I have always been a fan of this show, mostly because Steve returns. I thought the jokes were great. I thought the situation, although silly, was, fun. They had the family in, even Buck to a heavy degree. Well, not a heavy degree, but he was in there. When Steve returns, that just seals the deal, especially when he interacts with Marcy so much, because they were the team really together. It really wasn't. Yeah, Steve and Al were a team when Steve was on the show, but that the basic dynamic was him and Marcy, so I really like that. The only thing keep me from giving it a full, complete 5 stars is I wanted more. This probably should have been an hour show
or a 2-part
instead of one or the other. That would have worked well.
Steve shows up at the end of part 1 and going, oh, and then you got to wait to part 2, and then we have a whole episode to have fun with him. Yeah,
maybe that might have been a good choice. Jerry, how many car bras are you going to buy for this one?
Okay, so I really like the Steve and Marcy. Like, that story works so well. It's done so perfectly. Like, I have nothing negative to say besides, like, my own greediness of I want more. So, like, that's perfect. As for the Bundy side of the episode, I think it starts off really, really strong, really funny. They get a lot of triple jokes in. But at a certain point, it kind of loses it. I don't think Bud and Kelly are... Basically, once they start looking for the car, I think the story kind of falls apart and kind of... It's not the story falls apart. The jokes just aren't that good. I don't think they're that funny. They pick up a little bit here and there, but for the most part, that's kind of weak. But in saying that, it's definitely not the weakest, and because it's such a small part of the episode, that I think a solid 4 is where I'm at. I think 4 car brawls, enough to get multiple different places where there are massive blobs on Peggy's mom over in Wanker County covered. So if they could have tightened that up and done a little bit better with the Bundy story, I would have given it a perfect 5. But they just couldn't meet it. But Steve coming back was absolutely fantastic. Those jokes between him and Marcy were just so good. I would just love to have seen more Steve and Marcy. It's just too good. And it probably would only work in small doses like this. But much like how we talked about in this episode, there's multiple times in this episode where, as Tyler said, you could pick your own storyline. Where we were like, I wonder what would have happened if they would have actually went to Wanker County. I wonder what would have happened if Marcy would have actually caught Steve. And I think episodes like this are great because it kind of gives you a little bit of extra thought of what the series could do.
And yeah, you brought, you know what, Jerry, that's a perfect statement. The choose your own adventure quality. And all 3 of us are such huge fans of the show. We're willing to give it like a lot of leeway. In other ways, we'd probably be more critical. If a student, Steve, our co-host Steve, not Steve in the show, Steve, if a student brought you a paper, you told them to write a television episode, a screenplay, and they wrote this exact thing down, and it wasn't Married with Children, it was just a setup like this, I can sure all 3 of us can come up with like, okay, well then I kind of forgot halfway through this thing, we kind of forgot he's looking for his car. And you know what? Why don't you make the car the whole thing? Why do we have this whole thing about this Wanker County at the beginning? If this whole episode's going to be about the car and them looking for it, start it with the car. And then you have this guy popping in out of nowhere. He should be at the beginning as well. Work this stuff in. Like, these are bad. These are screenwriting. These are script flaws. Point blank.
Yeah.
Simple.
Well, there's no such thing as a perfect writer.
No, but on a show like this, their writing is usually way more tighter than this. So,
yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I will say one more thing is that, you know, for the 100th episode of Married with Children, what do we get? Top of the heap. I think turning around 100 episodes later, I think the writers and producers realized, okay, we need to make this about the Bundys and bring back Steve. And I thought they did a bang-up job in celebrating their 200th episode a hell of a lot better than their 100th episode.
Oh, Steven, that's true, but I'm not going to lie. I kind of love Top of the Heap, and some days when I want to be really just like a dirty person, not going to shower, I'm not going to shave, I'm just going to pick a dish out of the sink and just like brush it off and use that, and I'm going to put it on Top of the Heap. Like,
And you wanted to unfriend Jerry for not liking The Simpsons?
No, hey, I'm not wearing that as a mark of honor. I told you, it's a dirty time. But you're right. That's definitely not the top of the heap. Is just an obviously disgusting failure of a series, but part of me kind of loves it. The way I love it.
Well, what I'm talking about is that was their 100th episode, was the premiere of Top of the Heap. So
this was a pretty good 200th episode.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, we want to thank you for joining us on this one. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. This was awesome having you here.
Oh, glad to be back. It's always nice to come back and talk Married with Children. It's such a great show, and I never want to be too far away from it. Plus, it's nice to see the show still going and people still being such big fans of the show. And Steve, of course.
Of course, yes, because I'm a Steve file, too. I've always been a Steve man more than Jefferson, although Jefferson's grown on me a little bit.
He's strong, you have to admit that. Like, he's a strong caliber for the show.
He just got soap in his eyes.
Oh, that was so great. Like, I love him no matter what. Marcy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so great.
Yeah. Hope you tune in next week. Yeah, you're going to see 25 Years and What Do You Get? It was directed by Sam Oriender, written by Donald Beck, and it's going to be hosted by Luigi, Matt, and Annabelle. And that's when both Al and Peg have good intentions for their 25th wedding anniversary, but things go wrong everywhere. So until then, remember...